Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming again. We will be starting debate now with our first topic, which is based on transportation. So just recently, ground was broken on the new high-speed rail, which will be traveling from LA to San Francisco. The rail was first approved by voters in 2008, but despite its many benefits, environmentally and otherwise, much debate has surrounded the project since it will cost the state many billions of dollars. Do you believe this is a worthwhile use of funding? And who will start? Okay.
Hi.
A wonderful way to start.
Hi.
It's down, dude.
Test. Is that good? Hi, I'm Ted Goldstein from the East Valley Family YMCA, running to be your 68th Youth Governor. The high-speed rail, at its heart, is an environmental project to cut down on the amount of traffic that we have in California going north to south and south to north across the 600-mile... Can you guys hear me with this?
Yeah.
Oh. Going across the 600-mile travel from Los Angeles to San Francisco. This is an incredibly expensive project for a very limited amount of actual traffic reduction. Most traffic in California happens within its metropolitan centers in Los Angeles, San Francisco, San Jose, and San Diego. And I think a much more efficient use of money would be, instead of creating one system that goes across the state, it would be redeveloping the metropolitan metro systems in those cities. By revamping the systems that we have in Los Angeles and San Diego so that they work more effectively, like the ones we have in San Francisco and Northern California, we would actually cut down on much more carbon emissions than just cutting down on the amount of travel between Los Angeles and San Francisco. That said, once I think we have those in place, we would be able to move towards a more high-speed rail system across the state, because then we could manage to cut down on the amount of emissions both within our cities and across our state. Thank you.
And now a rebuttal from Chris. You have 2 minutes and 30 seconds as well.
I'm Chris Ford from the Newport Corona Del Mar delegation, running under the Tide Party to be your 68th Youth Governor. I completely agree with Ted for the reasons that he stated, as well as others. The high-speed rail project has the potential to be something that is very beneficial to our state and something that is both innovative and will greatly increase the efficiency of our transportation systems while also cutting back emissions. However, it's not, in my opinion, what the state of California needs right now. We already have a state debt of $423 billion. The projected cost of this project is to be at $68 billion, completed in the year 2029. That's just the starting cost. Who knows how much it'll increase by. Furthermore, I think that the money that could be put into the high-speed rail could be much better applied in other areas, still regarding transportation and the environment, such as providing incentives for companies to manufacture cars that affect the environment less, or to better the infrastructure that currently exists in our state transportation systems. Thank you.
Hey guys, my name is Nicolas Gardner from SBY.Y, proudly running with the Bloc Party to be your 68th Youth Governor. So I think that the high-speed rail system is a project of the future. Eras in our history have been defined by methods of transportation. During the 1600s, you have the Silk Road. Closer to home in American history, you have the Erie Canal. Eras of our history have been defined by the way people get from one place to another, and fundamentally how they communicate with one another. I think that the California rail system is a project like that. It is the next advance in our transportation system, and mainly for two reasons. One is for the environmental cost for it. While it might not be a significant number of traffic in California, it is still a substantial part of it. There's a lot of people that commute, not on a regular basis, but often from San Francisco to LA or vice versa. And I think that for the environmental reasons and also for the fluidity of the labor market, we also have to build this rail, because if we truly want to talk about empowering people, we have to make sure that they have the ability to get anywhere they need to be to get jobs, to advance their own futures. And I think that a low-cost method of transportation like the high-speed rail system, could advance the fluidity of the labor market. Thank you.
Ted, rebuttal, please.
I'm Ted Goldstein from the East Valley Family YMCA, running to be your 68th Youth Governor. To contest what Nico was saying, he was talking about that this is the next advance in travel. Although high-speed railway is actually 30 years old, and if we study the American rail system and the European rail systems, we realize that traditionally railways always go out of date very quickly. And the reason that we don't have the high-speed rail system in the United States is because our rail system went out of date almost 60 years ago. And that's why we've been moving to more different ways of transportation, such as buses and things like more advanced automobiles, because railways, you need an immense amount. Also, to Chris's point that this is too much money for a state that's already in debt, I believe that it's too late to stop work on this project, because we've already begun and we've already laid the work and we've already put out the money for bonds. So as long as we've already laid that initial infrastructure, we should go ahead with this, because it will get rid of the carbon emissions and it will also create, if not a sustainable amount of revenue, at least a small amount of revenue in the future to counteract the current cost.
For things that do not necessarily relate to getting an education. And if we just reduce or eliminate the costs for 2 years of community colleges, it will give people that, whether they're coming out of high school or they're getting a second job, they're getting a second chance at having a really successful life, we can give them that opportunity that they need so that they can become a high-functioning member of society. Thank you.
I'm Ted Goldstein from the East Valley Family YMCA, running to be your 68th Youth Governor. Chris brought up, I think, the fundamental issue with this, which is that 75% of this will be paid by the national government, while 25% has to come from each state's government budget. And I think that, for one thing, our nation is in the $16 trillion debt already, and that it would be frivolous for us to be spending this money like this as it is. But it also doesn't take into account the fact that different states have different issues with their education budget. Specifically in California, we've been going under UC tuition hikes for years now. And the thing is, if we have to spend 25% on these community colleges to have free tuition, we would only have to raise tuition for our CSUs and our UCs even higher. So I think that before we make national legislation regarding making tuition free at community colleges, we need to first start making it so that it's more effective in each individual state. Because all of the different states have different ways in which they approach higher education, and I think that that's how we should focus on this. Chicago and Tennessee have both have systems in which their community colleges are free. And I think that's excellent for those states. But those states also don't have the same kind of public education facilities like our UC system, which is the best in the nation. But that's also incredibly expensive. So before we work on creating free community colleges, we need to first work on balancing our own state's budget, and then each state should work on their own community college budget. Thank you.
Hey guys, my name is Nicolas Gardner from SBY.Y. I'm proudly running with the Bloc Party to be your 68th Youth Governor. Now, I agree with a lot of points that Chris and Ted have both brought up. Currently, the United States labor force is behind almost every other labor force in the United States. In terms of education, we are currently, sadly, not ready to compete on a global scale. And this is why I believe that programs like the one the President is advancing to be extremely important. But while I admire the sentiment of this program, I don't think that the use of these $60 billion is currently, under this proposal, is what we need. What we should do is we should expand the Pell Grant system, which helps underprivileged kids go to college and get the education they need, because through the Pell Grant system, we don't only limit people to community colleges, we expose them to almost every breadth of education in the United States, which is extremely diverse and extremely good. So what we need to do is we need to strengthen the Pell Grant system so we can do this. Now, on what Ted said, that each state has their own individual education needs, fundamentally I agree with this. But I think that there are times when we are 50 states and there are times where we are one nation. And that in terms of education and advancing our public good, here we are one nation and we have one priority, advancing education. Because even if we are in debt right now, just focusing on education, through powering artist citizens, the dividend, the payback is way more than anything we could invest. So I think that we should take these $60 billion, invest them in Pell Grants, so we don't only funnel people to community colleges, we expose them to almost every breadth of education. Thank you.
To address what Nico was saying regarding Pell Grants. Pell Grants are very beneficial to our society. They provide the opportunity that people who don't have money it provides them that opportunity that they need to go to college. However, there are a small percentage, roughly 3% of Pell Grant recipients called Pell Runners, and they basically take advantage of this system and take advantage of the money that is given to them by this system. And in total, it costs our state roughly $1 billion a year, just from this small 3%. And if we put more money into that, if we put these $60 billion, even more money into that Pell Grant system, who knows how much that could hike up that price by even more. So to me, the perfect solution is this community college plan, because community college has so often and still is been an opportunity for people, whether you're coming out of high school or whether you are in your 20s, your 30s, your 40s, or 50s, whatever. It gives you that opportunity that you need to have a second chance to become successful, to become to raise yourself in society. And I think that this bill is a really great way to support the progress of people that want to improve themselves, that want to improve their society, and furthermore, more of these people it benefits our entire society as a whole. So thank you.
I'm Ted Goldstein, running to be your 68th Youth Governor. Both Nico and Chris brought up the Pell Grant system as an opportunity for a different type of financial aid. However, with the Pell Grant and even the California Grant, students don't receive a full ride to any university, be it community college or for full four-year university. They can receive at maximum only $20,000, which is often not enough to cover the cost of this. So instead of just advancing the Pell Grant system like Nico is suggesting, I would suggest that instead we take the money that the national government is willing to provide for this community college system, and instead offer it to the states to do individually as they choose with their education system, be it advancing their own type of California grant system in Arkansas or in New York, so that they can also offer more financially for four-year universities, or if that is like free community colleges like in Chicago and Tennessee. Because nationally, we don't have the same issues across the state, across all 50 states that Nico is talking about. Education really, when it boils down, yes, it is a national issue, but each state handles it so differently that it's impossible to deal with it on a nationwide level. We should first look at improving each state individually before we work on a national solution. Thank you.
Okay, just to respond to a few things that both Chris and Ted have said. What Chris is saying about the fraud in the Pell Grant system is true. Unfortunately, 3% of recipients take advantage of the system that has been extremely beneficial. But while we think about those 3%, we also have to think about the 97% who have been helped by this proposal, who have been helped by this program. And also the assumption that we shouldn't proceed with the Pell Grant system because 3% take advantage of it kind of ignores the fact that there will also be fraud and corruption in the system the president is proposing. This isn't just an exclusive problem within the Pell Grant system, and we have to work to eliminate it. And now, on the point that Ted brings up, that none of the recipients of the Pell Grant system get a full ride to college. This is true. This is why we're going to put $60 billion into the program over the 10 years, so people can get full rides to colleges, to any college they choose, not only community colleges. It can be a UC, it can be any college they choose. Now, on the point that we should give the money to the states, I think that could be a viable proposal, but like I said, there are moments when we are 50 states and we are one country. Right now, we live in a world far more different than the one that our predecessors lived in. We have national needs, and we have to compete against international bodies, against citizens of every nation. And to do that effectively, we have to have a national strategy for education, to make sure every citizen of the United States is prepared to tackle the global economy. That's why I believe we should focus on the Pell Grant system, not just give money to the states or focus on this program. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm here with Jake Levy from the SPASM delegation. Now, Jake, what's your impressions on how the debate has been going so far?
I'm really happy with how it's going so far, actually. I think all the candidates are doing a really great job. And, you know, considering the last minute changes as far as location, I'm really happy with the turnout as well. Yeah. And I've been having a good time.
Perfect. Now, Jake, you helped plan out the debate, correct?
Yes, that's right.
Now, can you tell us a little bit about your plans for the debate to come the next year? It is the second annual debate, correct?
Right, yes. CPY hosted it last year, and SPASM was lucky enough to get in on trying to host it this year.
I see.
Yeah.
Perfect. And then just one last question. Has there been any moments of the debate that's really stuck in your mind, any really memorable?
I don't know. I think each candidate is really doing a great job. They're all adequately demonstrating their strengths as candidates, and yeah, I think
Perfect.
that's about it.
All right, well, thank you, Jake.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Arthur Peskin here with Krista Schildwachter and Tatum West from the Future Leaders Campaign. Now, Krista, Tatum, can you tell us a little bit about what you're doing today?
Yes, so we are fundraising today. Do I not get to hold it? Okay. So we are fundraising today for the Future Leaders Campaign, which is a sector in youth and government where we raise money for delegates who can't necessarily afford the entire program. So we raise money for scholarships and such, and we do that. That's something that happens every year between training and elections too, and then Sacramento. So I'm actually a section leader, so I'm in charge of about 25 kids for raising $300 each. Last year we raised about $333,000 in scholarships, which is really awesome, and that's really what is able to keep our program so lively and able to get kids from all walks of life to participate.
In addition to donating, what are some ways that youth and government delegates will be able to get involved with the Future Leaders Campaign?
Just knowing people in the program, it's kind of like a trickle-down system. So the youth governor picks section leaders, and then the section leaders choose their team leaders. And so just trying to let people in your delegation know as much as possible that you want to get as involved as possible, and leaders in your delegation could make those connections for you and make you a campaigner.
All right, well, thank you. Good luck on your goal.
One of the last remaining communist countries on Earth, and our goal in placing the embargo has not succeeded at all. And furthermore, the people in Cuba, the citizens of Cuba who are innocent, who are simply being oppressed by the Castro regime, are suffering greatly from our embargo, not just from their own government, but from our embargo. We are limiting the amount of resources they can have. We are limiting the technology that they can use. And lifting the embargo will give them that technology, give them those resources that they need to hopefully create a path in the right direction towards a more democratic nation. Thank you.
And social media. And in recent years, the global use of social media has taken a meteoric leap upward. This has changed the way many of us receive and engage information about current events. Many social media platforms filter out all opinions but that of the individual on the site to create more of a user-friendly experience. Do you believe it is safe for people to receive news from social media alone, or should we still be looking elsewhere for information on current events?
Hi guys, I'm Nicolas Gardner, probably running to be your 68th youth governor. So I think that the influence of social media on politics and the way we receive news is kind of a double-edged sword. I mean, we see nations around the world use social media to advance freedom and democracy. I mean, the revolutions in Northern Africa were a product of people coming together on social media to propel freedom and the values they believe in. But at the same time, social media has created sort of situation where we can become more apathetic. A lot of people still just kind of, when they want to support a cause, they just like a Facebook page and they think that's it. We can't let, that's not so much a problem with social media, but with the way we receive information and how people are involved in politics. So to the question whether it is safe for people to use social media to get their information or should they use to other sources, I do not think it is safe, because if someone is going to form their opinion, if they're going to come up with something they believe in and support, they need all the information they can. So that just means going on Tumblr, on Facebook, on Twitter, or watching CNN or Fox News or CNBC. We need all the information we can so people can formulate their positions. Thank you.
I agree with Nico. I think it is very important. It doesn't really matter whether it's social media, whether whatever type of news source or information source you're talking about. It is always important to try and find as many different perspectives as possible, because no matter what you're looking at, whether it's Fox or it's CNN or it's some international source, there's always going to be underlying biases. No source is completely 100% bipartisan, completely taking into account both sides in its approach to a situation. And because of that, we can't just simply be looking at a Facebook post and from that formulate an idea. We have to be looking at the Facebook post and then you get interested about it, you Google it, you look at all these different sources, because it's really important to have a informed view that takes into account multiple perspectives. Thank you.
I'm Ted Goldstein from the East Valley Family YMCA, running to be your 68th Youth Governor. I agree with Chris and Nico that social media does present a biased source of information and that people shouldn't take it lightly. However, I disagree that it's actually an issue with the way that people receive their news. All media sources are biased, and almost always people only receive information from their preferred bias. They never look at the entirety of a situation. And for that reason, I think that social media is a fine way of receiving your news. It's no different from doing it other ways. But however, in regards to how it affects us politically, I think we also have to take into account that social media makes social advocacy simpler and easier for most people. And that's not always the best thing. Because people feel that when they're a part of a campaign, like for gun control after the Santa Barbara shootings, or for justice for Trayvon Martin after he was killed in Florida, or for justice for Eric Gardner this year, people become very enraged about these situations and they go on social media to portray their beliefs. However, that's the extent of what they do. They don't go out and they don't take any more steps towards actually creating real change. And I think we need to find a way of merging those two things. Because in the United States, we have a long-standing history of making change from the people leading movements to change things at the top and in our legislation. And we need to use social media and the powers it gives us to get people together and to get them to actually leave their social media sites and go out and make change for themselves. Thank you.
I'm going to have to agree with Ted and Chris. Social media has provided us an extremely powerful way of receiving information. I mean, without social media, we wouldn't have heard cases like that of Eric Garner or Trayvon Martin or the atrocities committed in Ferguson. We have at our fingertips almost all the information in the world, but for too long we haven't done anything with it. I mean, you see people going on Facebook and posting about issues or retweeting Michelle Obama or Barack Obama or anyone they want to kind of agree with, but that's all we do. We like Facebook campaign pages, but we don't go ahead and phone bank or walk the precincts. I mean, the debate we have right now on the way people react to social media isn't so much about how social media impacts politics, but kind of the age-old debate on how people respond to the news, on how people move ahead with issues. So I think that we have to emphasize a way for people to move forward, to make change, to empower them to make change, because like Ted said, it's the people who truly make change. I mean, when the Constitution was written, what they said is that the people shall be the final guardians of democracy. That was true, and it is true today. The people have immense abilities to make change. We just have to make sure they go ahead and do it. Thank you.
I agree with virtually everything that he said. The people have an immense power in our society to create change and to see the change that they want to see it realized by our government. That being said, in regards to social media limiting or reducing the amount of change that people feel, I don't necessarily agree with that, because to me, the people who simply like a page or just do something not very substantial, maybe just make a small tweet, whatever it be, to me, those people without social media just would be doing nothing. It's the people that are creating the campaigns, as they have always been doing. I don't think that amount of people has been reduced. I simply think that the people who were doing basically nothing are now maybe on their way by liking that post or by seeing something on Facebook right after they've looked at their friends' pictures, something like that. They are on their way to becoming the type of member of society that we want to see, the kind who's engaged in politics, the kind who will maybe in the future want to make change in the world. And in regards to social media by itself, in regards to politics, I think that it has had a very beneficial impact on our world, because with politics, you can see outreach programs being extended exponentially higher than they would have in the past. You can see people's campaigns, you can see what people believe in simply without having to say, look very hard. You can, it provides for a way for people to become more informed about whether it's candidates that they believe in or activists or programs. I think that social media has had a very beneficial impact on our society. Thank you.
I'm Ted Goldstein from the East Valley Family YMCA, running to be your 16th Youth Governor. All of us have been talking about how social media is good and it's good for promoting political issues, but we need to get out into the streets and make actual change. My question is, what are we waiting for? Why aren't we starting right now and right here? That's what I'm running for. I'm running to change what we do in YNG and to take what you do in your sessions and to make that into real change. I want to take the bills and proposals we make and turn those into state laws. Because why should we wait for someone else to make a change that we want to see? Why should we wait for a Twitter campaign to become real legislation? Why don't we make it right now? Why don't we make it right here? That's what I'm running for. That's what I want to do for you. I want to take what you believe in and turn that into real state laws that you can see, and you can be the change that you've always wanted to be. Thank you.
And that will finish off our debate for today. Those were all of our topics. And before we finish, we have a few announcements. But it'd be wonderful if we could have a round of applause.
Thank you, Connor. I'm here with Chris Ford, one of the candidates from NCDM for 68th Youth Governor. Now, Chris, what was your impression on how the debate went today?
I think the debate went really, really well. I thought that there was a lot of great discussion about all the topics, and I think that a lot of really good, innovative, new ideas.
What's your favorite thing about the Youth in Government program in your last in your 3 years in participating?
I think by far, to me, the most amazing, impactful, and important aspect of youth in government is the amount of both engagement and leadership that it offers for the 3,000 people that are in the program. We have so many opportunities given to us, whether it's just to be a delegate but speak on something, whether it's to run within your own program area, run for Sec of State, run for Youth Governor, and you really have the opportunity to do so much, both within your high school, during high school, but on a greater level, and once you're finished with Youth in Government.
And then, Chris, as Youth Governor, what would be your main agenda item for Youth in Government?
So my platform is based around communication, cooperation, and unity that encompasses all of YNG. So to me, we've all heard Youth in Government be described as a family. And that's definitely true, but to a certain extent, it's more of a group of families, the families being the delegations. And as much as people are willing to break outside of their comfort zone and talk to people from other delegations, it's not as much as I would like to see. And so as Youth Governor, I would base my platform around establishing relationships between, rather than simply within delegations. So whether that be creating times at conferences for delegations to get together, do icebreakers, establish relationships, because the end goal for me in doing this is to create an environment in which all 3,000 people are just completely unafraid to share their opinions, share their minds, get their amazing ideas out there.
Well, thank you, Chris, and good luck at Sacramento. I'm here with one of the candidates for 68th Youth Governor, Nicolas Gardner from the SPPY delegation. What was your impression of how the debate went today?
Well, my mind is absolutely blown by the level of discourse and just public debate that we had in this room. I mean, these are high school students, and I was asked questions about foreign policy, about national policy, that I haven't seen adults ask, so I'm absolutely blown away by the level of discourse at this debate. I will treasure the memory forever.
What has been your favorite thing about participating in Youth in Government in your last 3 years in the program?
Well, I've been incredibly blessed to participate in Youth in Government. Definitely my favorite part has been able to meet so many people from so many different delegations that live so many different kinds of lives. It's truly been a blessing to be able to count so many amazing friends throughout the state. So definitely my favorite part has not been the sessions. While I like them, it has definitely been all the friends I've made, all the memories I've created with them. It's definitely my favorite part.
As Youth Governor, what would be your main agenda item for Youth in Government in your year of term?
All right, so my platform is kind of centered around three main parts, which is unity, growth, and openness. And I like to tie that back into my kind of campaign theme, which is bringing the humanity back into politics and personally empowering delegates. So my main agenda item would be to do that, to make people recognize that we're not so different from one another, and through that we can create real change by empowering ourselves. So that would definitely be at the forefront of every piece of my agenda.
I'm Arthur Peskin here with one of the candidates for 68th Youth Governor, Ted Goldstein from the East Valley delegation. Now, Ted, what was your impression of how the debate today went?
I think the debate today went really well. I think, unfortunately, it's really hard to debate what we want to do in the program, so it's really good for us to talk about our positions on different national and statewide levels.
What has been your favorite part about youth in government during your last 2 years in the program?
I think my favorite part of the program is that everyone has so many individual ideas, and really in the program you get to see people express so many ideas outside of the traditional national norms of Democrat or Republican, liberal or conservative. And I think that that's the best thing to see, is people really being individually involved in their decision making.
And then Ted, as youth governor, what would be your main agenda item for youth in government?
Kind of piggybacking on that same idea of the individual ideas we have in youth in government, I want to take what delegates do in their sessions and I want to make it so that what they do really makes a difference. And I want to take the bills we make and the proposals we make, because so many delegates work on those, and I want to personally be able to lobby them to state legislators to try and turn them into real state laws and make what they do and what they believe in into real statewide change. Because it's not about the different program areas, it's really about what the delegates do, and that's what I want to bring back to the program.
Well, thank you, Ted. Thank you for coming down, and good luck at Sacramento.
Thanks, Arthur.